Yes, team. So we are into today's training. I've been reading a little bit more about conformity and how conformity can really hold us back. We touched on this briefly when we talked about dressing a certain way in our younger years to fit in, or behaving a certain way to maybe fit in with the rugby lads. I definitely did this through all early years of my life. I was a chameleon, I think was the word that I used. Different person with different sets of school friends, the rugby lads, clubbing mates, mates that got on it, mates who didn't, and just kind of merged into whoever I was. And I discussed it with the DJ career and the multiple genres and multiple names as well. Never really being authentic, never really being myself, never really being comfortable with being myself. And that kind of conforming to life and the rules and the ways that people tell me to be, and also conforming to other people, again, are two things that will screw you. Either conforming to life and the way people tell you to be, or conforming to other people and the way they tell you life should be. Both of them will screw you up long term, because you're not going to be living your true life. You're not going to be living yourself. And if you can kind of ask yourself this question, if I am having to conform to life, what am I living for? I'm not living for anything. I'm living for another person's version of the way they believe things should be. And this builds very much into me and Stephen had a little text message. Actually, he sent me my message back to me when I said about like gratitude, my phrase that I coined as my own mindset phrase. I wonder if many years that will come out and it will be Lee Freeman said it, just like the guy was called Abel something who said, when it feels scary to jump, that's exactly when you need to jump. Otherwise, you'll spend your whole life stood in the same place. That's the person who actually said that quote that I said on the bridge. Some of the comments on Facebook are hilarious on that. Well, I've never jumped off a bridge and I seem to be doing okay in life. Okay, dickhead. Anyway, before we go down that rabbit warren. So yeah, that quote was that gratitude is a prerequisite to life. If you're not practicing gratitude, you will always be screwed. If you practice gratitude, it will almost always rescue you from any situation. Anything that's negative. The second something negative happens that you're moaning about, as soon as you can go, why am I grateful this happened? And we're going to build into this at the end. It's quite an interesting training, this. It's a bit of a roller coaster. So if we conform to life, what are we living for? And what are we living for? And the point that me and Stephen had in that message was, after he sent me that quote back, he put something about what I'd mentioned about, the biggest belief shift you will ever go through to live a happy and fulfilling life is to become okay with not being liked. And if you can't become okay with some people not liking you, you will never, ever do anything. I would never post a live. I would never do a live. I would never sign a client up. I would never do a reel. I would never release any social media. And I have struggled with this in the past. I have not done things because I had a fear of how people would respond to them. When I released my book, I received a lot of negativity, being called a charlatan and various other things, and said, yeah, I did a Facebook post that said, what were the I think I said, what were the key things, your key take homes from the book, or things that you would want to see it or something? And people were commenting stuff like, I'd want to see the qualifications of this charlatan. I'd want to see the qualifications of this bedroom psychologist. And honestly, like, the negativity is insane. So I've had to have a real world example of getting very good very quickly and with not being liked, just like all the idiots commenting on the bridge videos saying that what if it had been 6 inches deep? Well, it wasn't, you fucking dickhead, was it? Because we tested it all. Congratulations on winning my Bell End of the Day award. Happy trolling, happy scrolling. But you have to get okay with it. But here's the kicker where I twisted it. Like, it's impossible to have some form of not wanting to be liked. I would say you're a psychopath. Because we all want to be liked. We all want a little bit of validation. We all want a little bit of significance. And I said this to Jess this morning, yesterday when we were doing that 13K run. Sometimes it can be positive. And just to go back around, what I said to Stephen was, you have to be okay with not being liked, but it's also okay wanting to be liked and wanting significance and wanting validation, but not so much that it changes who you are or changes your actions. Does that make sense? So it's normal to want to be liked, but don't want to be liked so much that it stops you being yourself. And the point of what I said to Jess was, into a bit of a struggle zone, probably 9, 10K. And I'm like, think about the Facebook post. This has got me through some long runs, this, you know. To be fair, I'd even say it got me through the 100-miler, because I was thinking, like, I said it to Gordon about 20 times when I was 9 miles out, which was actually 6 miles out in hindsight. And I was struggling, and I still could have pulled out at that point. I was in a lot of pain. My knee had gone altogether, even though it doesn't look like it in that last video. And I kept saying to myself, if you want the glory, you've got to go through the grind. If you want the glory, you've got to go through the grind. And this was a positive way of using that significance, because I'm like, you either dig deep and you get this last 10 miles done, and you're going to get this amazing feeling of personal accomplishment, personal achievement, getting it nailed, but also the reward of the love and the significance and the celebration and people saying how amazing it was. So don't get those two things confused, I think is what I'm saying. Like, that wasn't my reason for doing the run, but Jesus Christ, wanting that towards the end and knowing how good it was going to feel really got me through. So what I said to Jess was, start to visualize now. Like, you have two options, right? You bottle this and pull out and end on 9K, or you can start to think about, how am I going to feel when I tell the group that I've just done my longest ever run? How am I going to tell the group when I've done 13K? And again, that will get me through this weekend. It's a form of self-accountability. You will see, I'm going to be putting everything on my Instagram stories and on my Facebook stories, guys. I can't put all my stuff in the groups because it will just become the Lee Freeman show. But if you want to follow this entire weekend, follow Instagram or Facebook or stories. I'll be doing some reels, and I'll be going live at the beginning of every run as well. So that actually inspires me. It's not about wanting to be liked, but, you know, there's going to be some pretty, like, people are always commenting positive stuff already. Like, you're a machine, you're a savage, you're inspiring me. This is incredible. Like, that makes me feel good. But that's not the reason why I did it, but it's a key point in driving me forward. Does that make sense? So can you see how those two things are different? Like, I'd be doing it this weekend anyway, but having that little bit of public accountability and also having that little bit of backslapping and encouragement really helps. And again, I will visualize, like, when I was doing 50, 60, 70 miles, I'm like, oh, you've told everyone you're doing 80 miles. Like, you either get to go and do that Facebook later with integrity, saying, I did what I said I would, 80K, there's the Garmin, let's go. And you're going to receive all this response that will make you feel good. or you don't do it and you don't do the post and you don't do what you said you would. And people will think you're a pussy and you dropped out and you're weak and all those things. And that doesn't align with how I want to feel or people's opinion of me. So I think you can use things like that very strategically. It's only like, God, who wants their son or daughter to be proud of them? Who wants their son or daughter to say, that's my dad? And or friend or family or partner or anyone. It doesn't have to be a child. You know, we all want our loved ones to be proud of us. So that can be a very powerful thing. So what I'm just clarifying here, I've come around the houses about 4,000 times, is you have to be okay with not being liked, but also you can use wanting to get a bit of reward and respect from other people and some adulation and some significance as a very powerful tool, but don't use that as the reason for doing it. If that's the only if I was only running this weekend to put it on Facebook and get some love, there's not a chance I would do those runs. But it's a nice extra little arrow to my bow, so to speak, this weekend that I can use. So back to the point. So when I'm talking about this subject, this is a great quote from Gandhi. And I hadn't heard this the other day. Oh, someone remind me to tell you about the guy in the O2 shop yesterday as well, because that was funny. Become the change you wish to see most in the world. I think that's an incredible quote. Become the change you wish to see in the world. And this is, we're back at, you know, the whole inspiring people. I have no right to tell you how to live your life. I have no right to change other people, to try and change other people. You know, what I want to be is, I want to hold up the mirror, as I've said, show you the possibilities and be the invitation. Be the lighthouse, not the tugboat. And we're back at what we've always said, the modern day version. Stop telling people and start showing them. Very often we're telling people how to be, telling people how to live their lives, judging people, telling people what's right or wrong, getting into confrontation over what we believe is right or wrong. Like, I don't have any right or wrong. I just have my right. Like, I'm not going to convince someone else that my way is the way, but I'm going to show you the positive benefits. If you choose to come and sit at my table and you want to believe in the same things, that's great. But I have no attachment to whether you do or not. So what every single one of us does have the right to do is to be the best possible version of yourself. And you can't do that with conformity because you're not being yourself in the interim. So when we are the best possible version of ourselves in life, that's when we can be the example, not the warning. That's when we can be the invitation. But this all starts from within. Like, we can't change people, but we can show people how to change. And for this to go into a little bit of a deeper understanding, it's a very old mindset thing, this, and Peter Kieran, Paul Moore, and everyone else in between all talk about it. And I've talked about it at length. I've actually done a full training on it, and it builds into the authenticity. And this is, you were born to be the superstar and the leading role in your own movie, not an extra. Now, here is where it gets interesting. This is where I put a very different spin on this. So that's very age old. We've discussed that. You know, how to play the leading role in your own movie, how to be the superstar, how to be the shining light. Because most people, when we talk about this conformity, are extras in everybody else's world. They're just following the crowd, going with the flow. You know, it was just been said before, the only thing that should go with the flow is dead fish. That's a lovely mindset quote, which I absolutely love. You know, we should be going against the grain. We should be going against the flow. We should be living our own life and playing the leading role. And the time when we've talked about this the most is, you know, when we don't do things because we're worried about other people's opinions. And it's having that understanding, cover your kids' ears, that 99% of people do not give enough of a fuck about you to even have an opinion on your life, your weight, your career, your confidence, or anything in your life. That's just your ego. I can't do this because I'm worried what other people are thinking. They're not thinking anything. They don't care, especially not if they're playing the leading role. Why? Because they're too busy living their own life. This is when we talk about a man or woman on a mission. It's why men and women on missions don't tend to get depressed. Why? Because they're too busy on their mission. They're too busy focusing on what they want and how to get it, not what they don't have, how they feel, or how other people are treating them. So when this came into this, I was like, wow, I've nailed something here, because this is personal as well, because I've done this, haven't I? Like literally, like I've never blamed my mum for dying. Be a bit harsh, wouldn't it? But I certainly blamed my dad for years, and I blamed my stepmom for many years, to an insane level of hatred and paralysis in terms of things. But at some point you have to say, you can't complain that the directors gave you a bad script. We're all given a script, right? Some of us are born into a fucking horror movie. But guess what? A horror movie can turn into a hero's journey, and that's down to us. You can't change the initial script you were given, but you also can't complain about it because you were given it for a reason. We've said this before. The strongest battles are given to the strongest soldiers. Now, you were born to thrive. You were born to live your own life. You were born to be the best. You were born incredible. You were born enough, every single one of you. But you won't get where you want by playing the role in someone else's movies. And you also won't get where you want or film an incredible hero's journey by complaining about what script the directors gave you. But likewise, everyone is where they should be on their journey. So again, I'm working on some detachment stuff now. It's like, if people want to carry on playing the victim, if people want to carry on complaining about their parents, their ex-partners and everything in between, that's cool. It's not my job or my right to tell you. But eventually you will realize that every single thing, no matter how tragic or how adverse, has a lesson. Because this is what happens in movies. Right? We don't just get to the happy ending, do we? Every movie's got a villain. Every movie's got happy scenes, sad scenes, and everything in between. Depends how you play the movie on how it ends out. But, you know, we can turn any form of horror movie. If that's the script that you were given, you can rewrite that script into a hero's journey. And this comes down to understanding life happens for me, not to me. So we have to stop bitching about the past. We have to stop bitching about our parents, who did love us, who didn't love us, who let us down. Like, no one cares. It doesn't matter. It's not serving you in any way, shape, or form. You know, very often we feel we've been forced to do things, and we've been forced into a life, and we waste so much energy blaming about the conformity that we've chosen. But every day we have the opportunity to work towards what we want. You were born to win. You know this. And You know, for me to change from conformity, I've said this before, the biggest thing for me, and I think we all had a massive wake up call about it this weekend. The quickest way to upscale your life is to elevate your peer group, elevate your actions, elevate who you're hanging with. Because if you hang with people who want to keep listening to your story and saying, like multiple therapists did to me, oh, you have had a tough life. Oh, that is terrible. Oh, I can see why you do this. Fuck off. It's not helping. It's not helping me. It's not helping anyone. Yes, sometimes we need to get things out and go back in order to heal and trauma. But going over and over the same things that have happened and trying to understand why isn't serving anyone. And this was this was partly where this training came from yesterday, right? So I'm in Apple because I smashed my phone. Got a brand new phone screen now. By the way, anyone who's probably, I had no idea I had Apple Care, by the way. Apparently I do have Apple Care. I don't know why. I don't know when I paid for it. I don't know how much it costs. I don't know where I got it from. I think it was probably when I got the phone. But I also have phone insurance. There is a point to this before everyone starts laughing. I also have phone insurance via my bank. So I rang up the bank, says, listen, my phone's dropped out of my pocket on the knob. It's smashed the screen. Can I get it fixed? Anyway, it's all organized really quickly. £50 access through to the Apple store to get a new screen. Anyway, when I'm sat down saying, right, I need to pay this phone off because I don't need to anymore. This whole company and personal phone thing isn't working for me. I'm going to get a protective screen put on this one so it doesn't happen again. And the guy says, there's no point putting a protective screen on it. I said, why not? And he went, because it's cheaper with your Apple Care to get a new screen. It's now £25. You can smash your phone, take it into any Apple shop in the world, worldwide. If you've got Apple Care, pay your £25 access and you get a new screen. He went, the screen protector on its own is 45 quid, the proper one. So you might as well not have it. Anyway, let's get into a bit of conversation. This guy says, talking about the business phone. He says, what do you do? So I start telling him about it. Do you know what he said? Went, oh, that sounds amazing. So, I mean, I used to be in good shape, but it was lockdown that fucked me, mate, and I've never recovered. And it flew out of my mouth without even thinking about it. I went, lockdown finished in July 2021. And he went, yeah, but, and like the penny dropped in his head. I'm like, it's 2024. We're coming up for 3 years post lockdown, and you're still blaming Boris as the reason why you're fat and you're not going to the gym. Like, I didn't say that bit, obviously, but I'm like, can you see how subconsciously he's been telling himself that story for 3 years and not taking action and blaming lockdown as the reason he is where he is, looks how he looks, and feels how he feels in May 2024. But that is how subconsciously it can happen. And that will be his peer group as much as anything. Because at some point, someone else should have had the ball. He's now messaging me now. He wants to be a client. Someone else should have had the balls to tell him that. But I guarantee you, he's hanging around with a load of people in the Apple shop who go to Greg's every lunchtime in Meadow Hall, have no goals, no future, don't train, eat crap. It's retail people right across the board, 95%. And that is his peer group. And he will never, ever rise above the standard of his peer group because he's with a group of people that have been allowing him to tell the story for almost 3 years as it's lockdown's fault. This is the way it is. And again, this can build into, have a little bit of what's the word? Like a declutter, have some thoughts of decluttering today. Have a thought of cleansing, like Jan cleansed that monumental wooden floor the other day that looked like it had been polished with a toothbrush. How you do anything is how you do everything. Who's ever seen a floor cleaner than that before? But like, who do I need to stop listening to? What stories do I need to stop telling? Am I still watching the news? I'll be honest, I can't even remember lockdown being a thing. But that was a very awakening for me that, God, some people are literally still stuck 3 years in the past. And it will be the same with the blaming the parents, blaming this is the reason I am the way I am. No, you are the way you are based on your thoughts, your habits, your behaviors, and your actions. Change them, change your peer group, change your future. Like, I mean, a lot of people are slow on the game on this one. And again, this is my opinion. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just holding up that mirror. I haven't watched the news in as long as I can remember. I only really found out about the Russia situation via the army. I had no idea what was going on in lockdown with restrictions. Nat used to watch it on and off. I don't care. And again, I've been called some nasty things in this in the past. When I worked at a certain business, which I won't mention, some of the other directors got very much into politics. They got very much into that whole Rebecca, what's her fucking name, and Rupert Murdoch and the fucking, it's all they talked about, the Sky Sports thing. I don't even know what it was or what was going on. That's how disinterested I was. So I decided to progress. I decided to express this in a non-too, what's the word? Eloquent? I don't know. I don't know what the word is. Someone tell me what the word is. Probably not very well. I can't think of the word. It's driving me mad now. Diplomatic. Jay knows. See, we've got a writer in. Not a very diplomatic way. Exact words. Maybe if you two gave as much as a fuck about this business as you do giving a fuck about getting angry at politicians, watching the fucking green room of Commons and all the knobheads in it, and Rupert Murdoch and Rebecca Ginger Curly, what's her name? Sorry, Jess, and everyone in between, maybe we wouldn't be in the final situation we are. And they said, maybe if you weren't so naive to what's going on in the world, then the world would be a better place. Or words to those. Basically, it's people like me. The other things I said, they said, who are you voting for? And I said, Screaming Lord Such's Raving Loony Party. And they were like, no, who are you really waiting for? I'm like, no, that's the only one I know. And I've only remembered that from my granddad telling me when I was about 12. Like, I'm not voting. I don't know enough about it because I don't give a shit. And they went, the problem with all of this is people like you. And I'm like, wow. But I don't. And that's just me because I don't know. I haven't got a clue what's going on in the world right now. I haven't got a clue, but guess what? I know exactly what's going on in my world. And that's not arrogant. That's not selfish. I know where I'm going. I know what I want. I've got a 1-year plan. I've got a 3-year plan. I've got a 5-year plan, and I'm working towards it. Nothing on the news is going to change that plan. Why? Because I'm not an extra. I want to play the hero's role. I want to be on the hero's journey. I want to play the leading role in my movie. And if people don't like my movie or don't want to watch it, that's totally cool. But don't try to convince me to come and star in your movie because I'm not interested. I don't want you in my movie. We all have our own right. So you go, maybe you twist that back now and you think, actually, Lee, you should have not started that conversation because you should have just let them go. If they want to spend their life shouting at politicians on the telly while their business goes down the drink, okay, that's cool. Let them be. So again, I'm slightly wrong there. And that's a lesson. You know, I have no right to tell them how to live. I did actually. Going to disagree, because when it's affecting another person's livelihood, I think you have a little bit more of a right. But that's it, right? But here's where Jane, you'll be loving this as a writer. What I believe is with this peer group, and I think this is what we're building up. I actually said to Jess this morning, guys, yesterday, like, I wish there was nothing financial towards running a business and people didn't come and go and I didn't have to change things and constantly on my toes, because I'd love to just lock the group in as it is and that just be it and it stay the same forever, you know, especially after the weekend and the energy and the way it is at the minute, because it was electric with the peer group and the support and everything. And you know, it is, you can see this as like a movie scene, right? And whilst you don't want to be an extra, whilst you want to play the leading role, and whilst you don't want to conform, I also think bringing in co-creators who are on the same page is also the skill that takes you to a next level. You say, I'm not going to conform with you and I don't expect you to conform with me, but what can we co-create on? Where can, you know, this is an old story as well, you know, you could have 10 people, 10, you know, different people all pulling racehorses, but if you get 10 people pulling in the right direction, that's when the magic really happens. And I think there's more and more of that going on now. There's more and more co-connection. There's more and more of this, you know, the peer group being elevated. And I don't think there's anything more powerful. And this is why, again, it's not for me to tell people how to live their lives, but you know, you can, it's very clear to see the people that get involved in the group, the people that get involved in the events, the people that get involved on Facebook and WhatsApp are the people that are smashing it. You know, the people that aren't are the ones that are ghosting. We said this in the past, even, you know, and it's each to their own, each on their journey, as we've said, but you know, some people are getting that triggered by positivity that they leave, like getting triggered by people doing the work that they leave, because it is highlighting to them what they haven't yet found the strength to do and deep down wish they could. But again, don't try and pull people. Just keep being the beacon, keep being the lighthouse. And the final thing, I think this is I don't know where this came from, somewhere in there. So to summarize on that, you know, before we came into this life, I believe every single one of us was given a script and we weren't in control of it and we can't change it. But that doesn't mean that we can't start to write a new one later on in life. This is the most random comment I've ever wrote down. Just because you were born into a shitty gym, it doesn't mean you can't become a world-class athlete. Lee Freeman, 2024. 2 years, 10 months after lockdown. But again, it's real to that. How many people are moaning about where they train and their gym and their weather and all these things and, you know, blaming all these things? Well, no, you can still be a world-class athlete in a very shit gym. You know, I can write a full bodybuilding split with a barbell, 2 dumbbells, a bar, a squat rack, and something to do pull-ups on. That's it. You know, look at the Ethiopians, look at the Kenyans running bare feet outside with very little food and becoming world champions. Just because you were born into a certain thing and given a script doesn't mean that you can't still be the incredible person that you were born to be. But if you're not quite, I'm in pretty good peak flow for me at the minute. Someone put me on standby for the next burnout. Let's hope it doesn't happen before the 29th of May. I think I'm handling it better than ever before. We'll see on Sunday, won't we? Spat on the screen. Listen to your intuition. If right now something isn't feeling right in your job, your relationships, your life, anything, that's life giving you the invitation to change. And this is what I think, this is where I think many people suffer. Life's actually giving them lots of warnings. Paul refers to it as a rumble strip. You know, the rumble strip on the motorway. So you're kind of in flow and you're going good, and then you start to drift off and it wakes you up, right? Back in the center, back in the center. Fuck me, Lee. You nearly hit the central reservation. Have another monster. You know? But I think your body and your life does that as well. Like we're getting warnings. If you're really struggling to run more than a mile, then your body's giving you a bit of a warning that you need to sort your shit out. You know, if you're gaining weight every week and you're struggling to walk up the stairs, the world's giving you a bit of a warning that you probably need to stop eating so much crap. If you're drinking heavily and taking drugs and you're starting to feel depressed on a Monday, a Tuesday, and a Wednesday, trust me, the world's giving you a bit of a warning that that ain't a good route to go, son, and it's only going to get worse. You know? But I think sometimes when we're getting these warnings, whether it's like a stubbornness thing, whether it's an ego thing, you know, I think this is a great analogy that I heard. Imagine it's like, so like, imagine your life, not what I'm doing with my fingers here. Imagine your life's a little bit like a radio, yeah? And where am I going with this? When a radio's tuned in, it sounds perfect. Like, you know, like the old school radios with the dials. That's why I'm doing that. You get radio one and you're like, oh, yeah. It's like, what's he going on about? Sounds perfectly clear, doesn't it? And then something goes a little bit wrong and knocks the dial. And there's all this interference. And it's like, doesn't sound right. Like, that's your intuition. That interference is the world, your gut, your senses, your belly telling you something isn't right here. I need to change. What most people do is just turn the volume up or give it a slap or turn something else out to block up the noise. You know, there's some noise out there that isn't quite right. I'm just going to turn this up over here and that will drown that out. And then I won't have to deal with it until it gets that painful and that difficult that you're left with no option but to deal with it. You know, generally, we know if we're fat and unfit. We know if we're drinking and eating too much. We know if we're depressed. We know if we're in a toxic relationship. We know if we're in a career that we hate. And those feelings are the rumble strip. The radio losing frequency. It's saying something's wrong. This isn't right. It's out of alignment with the way I want to feel and how I should to be. That is your sign to change. Don't ignore the changes. Don't go with the flow unless you're a dead fish, because you know when things are good. You know, and very often these aren't things that you very often might not have to end the career. You might not have to end the relationship. It's just a little sign that something needs fine tweaking. A conversation needs to be had. Something needs to change just to get off the rumble strip back into line. Doesn't mean we have to go on to a totally different fucking motorway. We can stay on the same road. We just need to realize that we've just wobbled off a bit here. Sometimes it might be, I haven't been to the gym for a week. God, I'm starting to feel not great. Right. That's the world telling you, get back to the gym, get back in sync, get back in flow. Because when you're in flow state, that is when everything feels perfect. That's when you're experiencing love. That's when you're experiencing passion, mission, positivity, happiness. That's when the radio's in tune perfectly, clarity. And when it's not, It's a bit of a weird noise, isn't it? I think radios really sound like that, but you know, doubt, confusion, overwhelm, stress, anxiety, because the frequency's out. And when the frequency's in, it's perfect. So if your frequency's knocking out a bit and you've got a gut feeling, you've got an intuition, start to act on it really quickly. And this is what, because Jess is watching and Kerry and Jan, you know, this is what I have to get aligned with burnout. You know, I've had the warnings so many times in the past when the frequency is going out. You're struggling mentally, you're struggling physically, you're getting tired, you're getting reactive, you're getting angry, you're not wanting to do stuff. That's my frequency knocking out, and it's saying rest, knobhead. You know, I've written this down, I've journaled this about 500 times. Rest is a prerequisite to optimal performance in all walks of life, not a reward for total burnout. Yet that's what so many of us do, not just me. That's why I asked that question on calls. Bro, how bad would it have to get? How bad does it have to get before you make changes? But that is what happens. We'll push and push and push and push, and people will wait. This is generally why, not just us, but me sometimes, you sometimes, I'd imagine. Like some people, you know, when you're getting a little, might be getting a little bit, we all do it, getting a little bit judgy and necky with someone because they keep moaning about something. Yeah, they will keep moaning about being overweight, but they won't stop eating McDonald's. They keep moaning about eating depressed, eating depressed, being depressed, but they won't stop drinking wine, you know, and everything in between. And you're starting to get to that point where you're like, did you hear her this morning? Did you hear her in the office this morning moaning about her weight? And then she's in fucking Krispy Kremes, 4 deep, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like it's real, it happens, right? But you know, that's what I said on the live this morning about, you know, this move talking about myself again. I always get paranoid when I do this, but it's the only story I've got, right? Um, the whole I haven't got time. Like this run and this thing, it's not my full-time gig. I'm not a professional athlete. I've got a lot of work commitments today, and I still need to fit in 4 15-kilometer runs, a school run, 2 clients, this live, and a very long list of stuff. But it's important to me. So I'll do it. And that's the reality. If things are important to a person, they'll find time. If not, they'll find an excuse. But your current set of actions, your current set of behaviors is the reason why you are where you are. And when we're not taking action to what we want, the truth is we're more committed to staying the way we are. Karen in the office is more committed to eating 4 Krispy Kremes at 4 o'clock than she is committed to going to the gym. The end. Case closed. She's more committed to staying the same than she is committed to doing the things that change it. The amount of depressed people that want to change their lives and feel better, look better, be better, you know, talk all the talk, but the reality is that they're not willing to stop drinking, smoking, or sniffing on a weekend. End of. They're more committed to their current behavior than they are changing to the behavior that's going to implement the change and get the results that they want. Or here's the kicker. They're actually not in enough pain to make the changes. Some people will wait until they are in the most inordinate, is that even a word, amount of pain. Like some people will wait until they're suicidal to get help with their mental health. Some people will wait until they're 25 stone and can't walk up the fucking stairs before they decide to make some diet changes. Some people will wait until the thought of going to work is making them feel suicidal before thinking about a career change. Some people will wait until they're in the most toxic, abusive relationship known to man until they find the courage to leave, or are sometimes forced to leave. And I get this. You know, I was forced to leave things because I didn't find the balls to leave them myself. But we have all these warning signs are all around us. So what I'm saying is pay attention to them. Start to pay attention to what's going on around you. Maybe go back and watch the training on self-awareness, because it's either that you're more committed to your current set of habits and you're not willing to change, or sometimes people need to be in what I would call an inappropriate need, and in an inappropriate amount of pain before they're ready to change. You know, they'll wait until they've gained 5 stone to start going to the gym. They'll wait until they're suicidal to do mindset work. They'll wait until they're completely burned out before deciding just to take time out and have a rest. I get it. So again, learn wherever area of this is happening. I like there to be a personal thing to attach to it because it helps it make sense to people. But, you know, if you don't, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to suddenly get better. And here is, I think, one of the things I need to learn from the most, that I need to take away from this training. If it's you and it's held up that mirror, amazing. If it's not, cool too. But whatever's happening, whatever's not working, whatever's creating that intuition, whatever's making you unhappy in any area of life, if you don't find the strength to stand up, speak, and deal with the problem, here's the kicker. You are the problem. Guys, I love you all. Have an absolutely amazing day. You're all incredible. I believe in every single one of you. I hope that's made sense. These could get very interesting lives over the next 4 days. And yeah, don't conform. Be you, do you, write your own movie, play the hero's role. You're in charge. Go and choose your future. I love you all.